Marc, I wanted to turn to you because victory on the battlefield isn't always the same as victory in the court of public opinion. Those same images of Israel striking Hamas targets are also images of, well, a devastated Gaza. And now we're hearing that something like 6 in 10 Democrats are saying that, well, Israel's going too far.
Right, absolutely. And we have a real problem with the Democratic Party that's, I would say, is divided into two problems. We have the problem of the progressive wing, which believes that Israel is a colonial enterprise and anything you do to stop a colonial enterprise is okay. And that represents some percentage, maybe 20%, 15% of the Democratic Party. But beyond that, we also have problems with African Americans, women's lib people, and others because of this idea of intersectionality. I mean, they overlap between those two groups, but this idea of intersectionality says if you're in favor of Black Lives Matter, if you're in favor of women's rights, if you're in favor of LGBT rights, then you have to be in favor of the Palestinians because the poor Palestinians fall into this minority group. So that makes up another part of the Democratic Party that may not be quite as, thinking of us as colonials, but they have to identify with the poor Palestinians. And then finally, of course, it's just a question of public opinion. We've all seen the push notifications that come from places like the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal, and Hamas makes an announcement, 500 people killed. Immediately, we get a push notification on all our phones that says, Israel killed 500 people. An hour later, when the actual story comes place, or a day later, depending on which story it is, no one's read that. They've all just seen the push notifications. So the story and the narrative is we're killing thousands and thousands of people. That doesn't look good. It doesn't seem good. The pictures are certainly not good. We didn't release the worst of our pictures because of who we are. Hamas does everything they can to release pictures true or false, and there's no way of saying whether they're true or false, many of them. So you see those images, you hear those images, you see the notifications, and you say, well, Israel's going too far. You forget what Israel did, what the Hamas did 4 weeks ago. That's ancient history. It's what's going on right now, and that's always been a problem. That's been a problem of Israel throughout. I saw an interesting cartoon the other day from London. Had Assad killed 600,000 Syrians. The streets are empty. And Myanmar, another 100,000 are killed. And another place, another 100,000 or 500,000 are killed. Israel? Oh, immediately the streets are filled with protests against Israel. We have a special space in the eyes of too many people that we're supposed to be better than everybody else, or we're hated more than anybody else, some combination they're in. And immediately when you see those images, it's Israel's fault. They're going too far.
And the challenge with this is these ill-informed people, these radicals, their vote counts just as much as everyone else. And it's an election year for the Democrats, particularly the primaries, with Michigan's role in the primaries being one of the major centers for Muslim Americans. This is going to be damaging for...
Well, it's more important where their roles are in terms of the Electoral College. Michigan is a swing state, and that's a great concern that Biden may lose support. It's not so much the issue of people going to go vote for Trump, let's say. That's not going to happen. They'll just stay home. That's the real concern. And the problem with the progressives is not only their numbers and they vote like everybody else, but they tend to be the more activists. They're the ones who vote in primaries. They're the ones who get involved in demonstrations. So they're the activist wing of the Democratic Party. And so that's really a problem for the Democrats. Other people get people out to vote. And if they lose their enthusiasm because Biden is being too supportive of us, I think he's going to be a little bit worried and it's going to have an impact.
And those activists have pretty much yielded the most radical faction of Congress, which brings us to the censure of Rashida Tlaib by Congress just the other day.
Right, absolutely. I mean, she was the 25th person in the history of the United States to be censured by the House of Representatives. I have no problem with her being pro-Palestinian, I mean, much less so than all of the other progressives, because she's Palestinian. I mean, if I was a Palestinian, I wouldn't like us either particularly. So I accept the fact that she's anti-us. However, when she posted a tweet that talked about from the river to the sea, and then claimed, no, it's only a want for freedom. I mean, she knows enough about this conflict. She's smart enough to know what the river to the sea means, eliminating Israel, eliminating us. So she should not be able to get away with that. And she was properly censored by the House of Representatives, and yes, only about 20 Democrats censored her as well. But I guess part of the issue is, of course, they don't feel like, generally speaking, censure has been used for almost criminal acts. She was an act of speaking, and that's always a question. Do you censure people, freedom of speech and all those things? I mean, I'm glad they censored her, but I understand why some people were a little bit reluctant to censure acts of speech as opposed to acts.
I guess one of the big challenges there is because while some Republicans might be a little reluctant to add the censure there. The fact that it was 90% of them that still voted against it makes people worry. Is the Democratic Party forming ranks along this radical fringe because they're going to need it in the elections?
I don't think it's quite there yet. I think in this particular case they did because of the reasons that I mentioned. I think it is a concern, and I think we have to be concerned going forward. I mean, we've had to be concerned ever since Netanyahu went to the Congress and basically attacked Obama. And we started losing significant Democratic support from that moment on. And all the things that we're talking about, the trends amongst the most liberal parts of the constituency, are very troubling for us for the future, and we need to address them. Not right now, because we can't do anything right now. It's a more long-term project that's going to require some really intelligence on our part.